Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last 7 days, I've been driving the 2025 Honda Civic Si. Up front is a 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've spent the last week driving this car as my daily driver. I've done over 500 miles in it, and I have quite a bit to talk about. This is a really affordable performance option here in 2025, and we're going to be talking about that price quite a bit because it is very, very attractive. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you would like to see all of my videos weeks or sometimes months before they're released, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month, as well as there's exclusive audio content there too. But let's get back to that 1.5 liter turbo under the hood. Well, it makes about 200 horsepower, which isn't anything too crazy, and it's actually down 5 horsepower from the previous generation, which we'll talk about in the final thoughts segment. However, it still offers a pretty decent punch and is a lot sportier feeling than the traditional Honda Civic. Around town, I've been averaging 32.5 miles to the gallon. However, on the highway, driving at 65 miles an hour, you'll get 39 miles to the gallon. When I went up to 75, it dropped to about 34 miles to the gallon. So, pretty decent, but there are hybrid options and more economical options. Now, the Civic Type R as well as this Civic Si come in manual, but Honda actually took it away from the lower trim levels. You used to be able to get a Honda Civic Sport with the naturally aspirated 2-liter with a manual transmission, but they've seemingly taken it away, or you just can't build it on their website anymore. The 6-speed is fantastic. It has a great and friendly clutch. The shift throw is not aggressive at all, has a really, really satisfying click into gear, and they've switched the sort of rev hang issue that the previous generation and first part of this generation had. Driving it was actually a lot better. It's been fixed, and it feels really good. Last but not least about the drivetrain, of course, the Civic Si is front-wheel drive, and even if you go up to the Civic Type R, it still maintains its front-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Civic Si? Well, it is sporty. It offers a very fun drive when you want it to be. You can shift it through the gears, rev it out, and it's going to be a hoot. Visibility is good. However, the ride quality somewhat lacks. Around town, it does have that stiffer ride for the sporty feel, and it feels sporty. It is a sporty car. However, on the highway, because I did take this on a couple extended highway trips, multiple hours, it gets quite bouncy. Take a look at this video that I got and how much my arm and head moves over the bumps. That was, well, less fantastic. So as a daily driver, that would definitely hurt this car quite a bit, but there are softer sprung Civics or other options out on the market. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a completely digital gauge cluster. I mean, I do get physical gauges for the coolant temperature and fuel, but everything else is digital. I like it. It's easy to read. I would definitely say it's a lot easier to read than the Toyota counterparts. So in that regard, they are fantastic. You also do get a shift light and a shift buzzer, which is really cool and special for the Civic Si as well as Type R. On the steering wheel, on the left, we have our skip track, volume, and voice commands, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise and steering assist. This has the Honda sensing system, which has emergency braking mitigation, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise, and blind spot monitoring, which is all really nice, and I like the overall look and feel of the steering wheel. Off to the left, we do have a climate vent with a little red accent for the Si, as well as our gauge dimmer switch and traction control button to the bottom left. And moving on to the door, we have our latch to get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do get our infotainment system. Google is now built in, which is really nice to see. However, it still maintains wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which has all been nice to see. It also pushes that music out through a Bose sound system, which I have found to be really good for the segment. Is it the best system I've ever heard? No, but the best system I've ever heard was in a car that cost almost 4 times as much. so I'll take it for $31K. We also do have a backup camera. Honda is really good about offering you 3 different views when you look at the backup camera, so nice to see all of that. Down below, we do have our climate vents along with hazard switch and more red accenting for the Civic Si. And then we have our climate controls. Surprisingly, we don't get dual zone climate here in the Si. Now, part of that is to keep the cost down for sure, or the Civic Type R does get dual zone climate, so if you really want that in a performance Honda Civic, you gotta go up to the Type R. We do have heated seats, which has been really, really nice during this cold snap here in Chicago. And down below, we have 2 USB-Cs and a 12-volt outlet. We do get some cubby space, and the shifter looks and feels great. It has this brushed aluminum top to it, which not only looks good, but really harkens back to previous generations of the Civic Si. There's a lot of heritage here in this shifter, and I like to see that. To the left, we do have our drive modes for normal, custom, and sport. Automatic start-stop on and off, powered parking brake, and brake hold. We do then have cup holders, so we'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and surprisingly, the Civic Si actually unfortunately fails. I don't know why. I kind of expected it to pass, but alas, it does not. Then we do have an openable center console and the seats. The seats are for the Si. They're a little bit more aggressive. They have Si stitched into them, which is really, really nice. And honestly, for being a bigger guy, they've been easy to get in and out of, and they do have quite a bit of adjustability. My friend Kira tried it out, and she's 4'11", and she was able to sit relatively comfortably, as well as you do get a lot of seat movement and tilting movement, so I'm pretty confident that if you are above 6 foot, you'll be able to fit in here rather happily. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2025 Honda Civic Si, and this is another great selling point of the car. I'm 5'11", not a small guy, and I can sit properly and normally. My head's not hitting the ceiling, even with my sunglasses on. My knees are not hitting the seat in front of me. The back seat of the Civic, in my opinion, has always been industry leading, at least in the last 10 years since I started doing reviews. The older Civics get tricky, for sure, but they were a lot smaller of cars. They're really modern equivalents of like the Honda Fit size. I mean, they were small little guys. So modern Civics have always been very good about their back seats. We do also get a center console in here with 2 cup holders. However, what's lacking is that I don't get any rear climate vents. Now, that's kind of industry standard across vehicles like this. The Mazda 3 doesn't get them, things like that. But something to note, on a hot day, you're gonna wanna try to blast that AC as much as you can for your rear occupants. Let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. Better on the back of the Honda Civic Si, press and hold here on the key fob, and nothing really too crazy to note. Pull it up here, and there you go. This is the rear trunk space of the Civic Si. I don't get any outlets or anything crazy like that. You can release the back seats with little hooks up here, but here is a video shot of getting some groceries in it, if that gives you a better sense of scale, or here's a shot of my remote control cars, if that gives you a better sense of scale. But very, very nice trunk area. However, there is a hatchback Honda Civic also available that we'll talk about just in a second. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of it. I like this generation of the Honda Civic Si. The Si is only available in the sedan format. If you want the hatchback, you have to go up to the Type R. I think that they do that on purpose. You used to be able to get Si hatchbacks, but ever since the Type R came here to the United States, they stopped offering that. I think it's to kind of push people up market, but I like the sedan. As we saw, the trunk space is pretty adequate, so I don't have any complaints. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2025 Honda Civic Si for the last week? Well, I've liked this car a lot. I've really enjoyed it. But I did actually have an opportunity recently to hop back 5 years to the previous generation of Civic Si and drive that. This is a 2020 Honda Civic SI. It is finished in red, it is a sedan, and I borrowed it from Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for this video. Now, under the hood sits that same 1.5 liter turbocharged inline 4. However, back in 2020, it actually made 5 more horsepower than it does today in 2025. I still have a manual transmission back here in 2020, so fundamentally and mechanically, it's pretty similar to today's car. What you're really going to notice the difference being is the interior. The interior of the previous gen just doesn't feel as nice and is a little bit more chaotic than the modern version. Look at how many different shapes are going on here in the interior. Well, in the 2025, it's a lot more simple. It's a lot more straightforward. But you also do get some nice features in the 2020 that have been taken away, like the blind spot camera. I have no idea why Honda got rid of this. It was such a great feature. And dual zone climate. Now, I will say a big downside of this generation is the fact that it has this incredibly annoying rev hang when you try to rev it out. Apparently, it's for some emission standards where it actually holds onto the revs a little bit. And so for someone who's experienced with manual transmissions, it feels like more of a hindrance than a help, because it is. The Honda Civic Si has always been a product of whatever era it was sold in. And this car competes very, very well with modern vehicles. I like this better than I like the Elantra N. The Elantra N is flashy and loud and has those crackles. But I like driving the Civic Si more. It feels more wholesome. It feels more put together. It has better back seats than the GR86 and, well, of course, the MX-5 because it doesn't have back seats. I think it looks a lot better than the current WRX, and again is nearly $14,000 cheaper than the WRX that I tested. Now, of course, there were lower trims, but still, this car is amazingly affordable for just a touch over $30,000. And you might be saying, I would never pay $30,000 for a Honda Civic Si. Well, anonymous viewer, I actually did the research and I did a reverse inflation calculator for this car. The 1991 Honda Civic Si was around $10,000 brand new. If this car was sold in 1991, it would cost around $13,000, only $3,000 more. And so yes, prices have gone up quite a bit, but not as much as you would think. For that $3,000 more, you get a car that's not going to kill you if you get into a small fender bender like you would in the 91 Si. It makes more power, it's roomier, it's more comfortable, it's just a bigger vehicle. It has a 6-speed instead of a 5-speed. It has an actual sound system. It has phone connectability. It has airbags. It produces less emissions as you drive. And so, I think that this is so properly priced. And now, from here on out, anytime someone asks me, I want a fun daily driver, the answer will be the same it's been for the last several decades. Honda Civic Si. It's still good. It's still very, very good. And I found myself wanting one. If I was in the position to need a car right now, this would be top of the list. No doubt in my mind. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Honda for allowing me to borrow their Civic Si for the last week. They've been absolutely wonderful to work with. Huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the cleaning and delivery of this vehicle. And of course, the Midwestern Automotive Media Association. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.